Honorable Chairperson, distinguished delegates. Millions of people across the world today live in prosperity, while billions of others are still living in a great poverty. It is an irony that this condition actually exists in our globalized world, where borderless communities are seamlessly interconnected. Globalization has thus brought about both challenges and opportunities to the whole international system. Those who are not benefiting from the running international structure are those who are the most powerless. This image is likely representing what has been a great concern and a debate over the decade, the reform of the international organization. The notion is that such global organizations bring the culture of democracy, yet they are not by themselves democratically governed. Democracy means equality, respect, and a fair chance in taking part on every decision-making process of the global governance. As global decision-making processes become more inclusive and fair, democracy both at the international institutions and within nation-states will steadily emerge. Distinguished delegates, Indonesia believes that creating a more inclusive and fair decision-making process will significantly boost changes in the promotion of peace and prosperity. The reform in the International Monetary Fund, IMF, for example, the IMF 2010 reform package, which will shift voting quota to developing countries and provide for the first time all elected executive board, should be hailed as one major breakthrough that will provide a bulk advantages in the distribution of economic well-being, making it significant as organizations that work under the basis of cooperation towards democracy and prosperity. Indonesia strongly believes that redistribution of power through democratization at the global level is a core element for the distribution of prosperity. The decision-making system at the international level still does not represent the aspiration of the majority of the world's population. With the reform package, there will be an increase on the IMF's board representatives from the emerging countries, while at the same time more developing countries receive a raise of their voting share in the IMF. This will eventually provide a channel for developing countries to defend their aspiration as well as their interests in terms of development issues and funding. To this end, Indonesia calls on all Asian Pacific parliaments to use their necessary resources to continue promoting the agenda of IMF reform. Distinguished delegates, another organization which has undergone a series of reform is the United Nations, particularly the UN Security Council. Today's global powers are not the same as yesterday's powers. There has been a shift of geopolitical and economical powers at this 21st century. Indonesia is committed to and will continue to actively work with other countries in promoting the agenda of UN reform. While Indonesia sees that fundamental difference amongst countries still exists, particularly on the contentious issues such as membership category, size, veto rights, and Indonesia believes that all member countries need to commit to imposing greater political flexibility to reach consensus. We can see that today, in its work, the UNSC, Security Council, has difficulties in implementing and decision-making as a result of the veto power of the P5 countries. Thus, the unfolding events of conflict in Syria, in Gaza, Ukraine, and other regions make the work of UNSC ineffective. The abuse of veto power in the end could lead to a greater instability itself. This is something that we need to promptly address. A consensus-based approach will likely be in favor to replace the use of veto. In this regard, Indonesia believes that the APPF's consensus-based approach is pertinent. Further, Indonesia believes that the APPF member countries could work together in realizing UN reform, particularly the Security Council, to better perform its task of maintaining international peace and security. My fellow parliamentarians, to conclude, I would like to emphasize that we, as members of Parliament, carry the voice of our people and need to ensure that the multilateral regimes truly represents the rights and, most importantly, the interest of our people. I sincerely thank you and be grateful enough for this opportunity. Muchas gracias.